Well, this was not at all what we thought we were going to start with talking about.
Yeah, well, this podcast never starts exactly how I anticipate. In fact, it just happens. I mean, I feel like we don't actually have any control about how it starts.
That's true. Yeah. You have zero control. I mean, because I just give the people what they want, and you clearly don't know what the people want because you never predict what I'm going to do. But the people do because they want whatever I'm going to do.
What kind of a claim is this that you're?
I feel like that sentence made no sense and also sounded super prideful, and I'm totally okay with you editing it out, but I feel like you're not gonna.
There's a good chance that I am not going to tell you what I'm going to do with that part of the episode.
Of course.
So, yeah.
This is why I should listen to the episodes before you post them. You have been really faithful to always provide me the ability to listen to them before you post them, but I never actually do that. I really should.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, not this time though. This past episode,
Oh.
you did not have the opportunity. It just went out.
I didn't even notice that I didn't have the opportunity because I never take you up on it, so I didn't really notice that it wasn't there.
Yeah, so it's fine.
Yeah,
fine.
it's
So,
fine.
Anyway, I think we could go ahead and you could give us an update on something that's going on.
I can give you guys an update. Yeah, so Operation Frozen Patty was episode 2 of the trilogy. So let's see, I'm trying to remember where we left off, but basically our decision was to go ahead and attempt to steal a couple of his items, and go ahead and freeze them. Some of them were supposed to get frozen in ice, and then some of them were going to get suspended in Jello. What we ended up getting was his phone charger, which we split into 2 pieces: the wall brick and the cable, as well as what we thought were his flip-flops. We'll get to that in a second. And then a large assortment of his basketball shorts. So we got all of those items. I drove down at midnight. I think I got there around midnight, and I just stayed up with everyone. And so around 3 a.m. we were confident he was asleep, so we had our Agent E go into the room and procure the objects for us, and then he brought them back out to us, where the rest of the team worked very quickly and very tirelessly to get everything frozen / suspended in Jello in time. And then so yeah, we were pretty awesome. We got some food dye so we could dye the ice green so that it would be more St. Patrick's Day themed, and it was all going pretty good. It turned out all right. So we got everything. Frozen, and then the next day, right? He shows up at his first class, and there's just a Tupperware container with his phone charger in green ice. The issue was he didn't recognize that his charger was missing when he woke up in the morning. So when he saw the one in ice, he was like, "Oh, look, someone gave me another charger." He didn't think it was his. And then the same thing happened with the cable. So it took him until the end of the day to realize that, oh, they stole my charger and froze it. He thought he had been gifted a new phone charger.
Well, this is interesting. I received a new phone charger wrapped in ice.
Yeah. And then when he got his flip-flops back, which, or what we thought were his flip-flops, it turns out they were his roommate's flip-flops. We stole the wrong ones.
Oh.
So he was just like, "Oh, what are Joe's flip-flops doing here? Suspended in Jello. Poor Joe." So yeah, we missed there. There was some collateral damage with the prank. And it turns out we accidentally, I think we ruined the flip-flops. We were all very sad about that. We had to.
Oh.
Yeah, there was some serious collateral damage on that one. That was not fun.
Oops.
But yeah, the basketball
Mistakes
shorts
made.
part, however, worked out fabulously. Oh man, that one was perfect. So we had our agents they were put in a garbage bag. We soaked them in water, and then threw that in. We just hid it in the ice machine overnight because we needed a freezer that would be big enough, and we realized that the best thing to do was to just bury it in the ice machine so that no one would see it was there, because that was the largest freezer available. And so that was pretty funny to just imagine if someone happened to find it and open it and just like, what is this? What? Why is this in the ice machine? But anyway, so that all worked out great. Then we gave them back to him, and yeah, it was just really funny because he, in order to try and thaw them out, he like soaked them in water, more water, which was like the slowest possible way to thaw them out. It was really fun. And then he sat there trying to like chisel the ice off of the shorts, and it was just all around terrible. It was really hilarious watching it all happen. And then he decided that because they were wet, he was going to put them on who he thought he knew who had done the prank. And he had figured out one of our agents, but only one. And so he put them on his bed, laid out all of the wet basketball shorts on his bed and was like, haha, now you have to take care of them. Except that guy was out of town for a week, so he just didn't have his basketball shorts all week. And so they were just stuck in someone else's room for a week. And we were like, well, joke's on you, joke's on you.
That's much better than
yeah,
been expected.
Exactly. So he pranked himself even worse.
Yes.
In trying to get retaliation against us, it just totally backfired. He was stuck without his shorts for an entire week, and we were like, oh, well, this is great.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that part worked out pretty well. And so then we've been continuing the planning for April. It's been pretty awesome. I got to use a whiteboard. So we're sending him on an Easter egg hunt, and there's like a series of clues that one will be in each egg that will lead him to the other egg. And so for some reason I had asked someone else to take care of it because I knew if I did it, I would write 12 really, really cringeworthy puns. But and I said that, and I was like, hey, does anybody else want to do this? It doesn't have to be clever. It doesn't have to be hard to figure out, right? You could at some level just write down the name of the next place, and like that would be close enough. But if you want to be a little bit creative with it, that would be awesome. Does anybody else want to do this, right? And somebody else said, oh, I'll do it. And then they didn't get around to doing it. Like we were closing in on finals week. They didn't have time. So I got tasked with trying to do it in like an hour. I had to write all these out. And so I was like, all right, well, time for 12 really cringeworthy puns. And so thankfully I was able to borrow, there's this like a student room on campus that I was able to borrow. And so I had this giant whiteboard and an expo marker and an hour. And so I just played some fun pop music and just started writing terrible puns. And so we will put pictures in the show notes, but of next week's episode, because I don't want to release the photos yet until after everything has gone down. But yeah, it's they are really terrible. Just to give y'all a little bitty taste, let me just read one of these real quick. So the place that we are attempting to send him is, so we included the name of the person and the building that they live in inside of it. And so the name of the person that he's going to, or like the nickname they go by, is Spidey. And then the building that they live in, because they will probably be in their room at the time when he's going to be able to talk to them, is Rinker. So the clue that I wrote to send him to Spidey in Rinker is, if your friendly neighborhood Spidey played hockey, he'd be the best in the Rinker.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, like, it's not subtle at all, right? It's not supposed to be a hard to figure out clue. It's really clear. And we went ahead and underlined the two key words in there anyway. It's supposed to be cringeworthy. Really, yeah, we're making it as obvious as possible, because Spidey is under no real obligation to actually give him back the egg as soon as he asks for it. we told all of our egg holders, you're welcome to hold out as long as you want. Like, you don't have to give it back right away. So we're making that the difficult part, is that he has to convince these people to actually give him the egg. And so there are some people who are talking about like, well, I'll just hold on to it until next semester then. And so we had to talk them out of doing that. But
Wait,
just
what
shy
is
of
this?
that.
What do these eggs lead him to?
So these eggs are going to lead him to an Easter basket, which includes a couple of different things. But the kind of like main thing that's going to be in there is, so we're going to, and we haven't yet, but we are going to steal. He has 4 flash drives that contain all of his old papers from when he was in high school, which are among his most prized possessions. He really likes being able to look back at his papers every once in a while and kind of remember some of the papers he used to write. I don't know. He's weird.
Okay.
But so we did not, however, we are not touching the flash drive that has all of his current homework and stuff on it. Obviously, we're leaving that alone. We're not trying to ruin his life, just make it a little bit more interesting. And so, so we're going to take those 4 flash drives and hide them. And we have already, I purchased 4 nearly identical look-alike flash drives. And I have suspended those flash drives inside of lollipops that I made. And so the Easter basket he's going to get, kind of the centerpiece, is going to be those 4 lollipops with what he thinks are his 4 flash drives with all of his old papers on them. Right. And so then the idea is that, so then inside on those flash drives will be a note telling him where to find the real ones. So the entire time he's thinking we have ruined his entire history of all of his papers he's ever written. Right. And so until he, breaks them open and realizes, wait, these aren't actually mine.
Oh.
So we're playing a little bit of psychological torture. Also, inside of each egg, so he has his favorite T-shirt. I happen to have an exact copy of it. So we have cut up my exact copy into 12 pieces, and there is 1 piece in each egg. So again, we're getting him to think we have destroyed one of his favorite items in the world. So as he gets the first, so we're hoping that when he gets the first egg, he'll be like, "What's this piece of cloth?" And then slowly, as he gets more and more pieces and realizes, "Wait a second, I know what shirt this is. This is my shirt. They wouldn't dare do this to my shirt," right? And then inside the Easter basket will be his shirt, totally unharmed.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. So that's kind of the main crux of what we're doing. Yeah, so I'm excited for April. We're working on it. It should be interesting.
What about the there was something about Operation Frozen Patty. There, you also said you were going to freeze his car keys, I thought.
So we were, but unfortunately Agent E was not able to get his car keys. Apparently he sleeps with those really close to him or something, but we weren't able to get those without waking him up, so we did not end up freezing those in ice. That was unfortunate.
Oh. Okay. Oh well. Still, the basketball shorts.
yeah, that part was awesome.
So you just had to wear pants. That must have been awful for him.
Oh yeah, he hated it. But of course he tries to downplay it, and so he keeps saying like, "Oh, that prank was terrible. It wasn't that bad. Oh, I didn't even care." And we're like, "Yeah, but you wore pants, so clearly you were affected by this."
I would hate that. I would hate that so much.
And he has yet to suspect me at all, which is great. He still has no idea.
Nice.
He has suspected nearly everyone else in existence, but somehow not me, which is awesome.
I think we should also talk about something that, I don't know, we've kind of hinted at things about it before, talked about it in slight amounts, but never really got down to the real topic of it. Do you think that you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? And to start this off, I think I'll just give both of our favorite explanations of introvert versus extrovert. From #BlimeyCow. Yeah, they're great. Go check them out. They have this explanation of a video game controller, a wired controller versus a wireless controller, And the wired controller is the extrovert because the wired controller has to be plugged in and to get its power, to be on, to be active. But the wireless controller will spend up its energy being on, being active, and being connected, and it will have to go rest alone on the dock to regain its energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one of my favorite explanations that I've ever heard. So
Agreed.
what do you consider yourself when you think of that?
So I absolutely consider myself an extrovert. I love people. It's funny. I was recently talking with someone about like interviews, and one of the common questions that you get, and I've gotten in every interview I've ever done, is that kind of that standard. What is your greatest strength? And I've answered a few different ways over the years, but I think that the one that I will probably stick with for longest, and the one that I kind of settled on, is I think is the right one, and that is that I truly love people. And like I see that all throughout myself and my personality and my desire to drive 3 hours in the middle of the night just to prank someone, or all that kind of stuff. Like, it's all comes from, I love people, I love being around people, and I feel energized when I'm around people.
Right, but I think it's interesting because does there really never come a time where you're just like so tired, you just like you just can't deal with people because it costs energy? Or do you really just always get energized?
So I don't think there is such a thing as a 100% extrovert, right? Like what you're talking about would be a 100% extrovert. So no, it's not that there is never a time, right? There have been a few times. What it is, though, is that like per year, I can count those times on my hand. And I remember each one because there was usually something very serious going on, right? Or like Josh hadn't gotten more than 3 hours of sleep for a week straight, right? Or I was sick with a stomach bug, and that was why I was so tired I couldn't deal with people, right? Like, it's usually because there's something else going on, right? But when life is going normal-ish, or like within the range of normal, no, there is no time when I am not wanting to be with people other than when I'm sleeping. But even then, you know me, I am always happy to give up sleep to hang out with people.
That's true. I do know you. I did know that this would be your answer. I don't know. When it comes to me, it's just so interesting because I don't know how much somebody can change in this too. Because at a time, I feel like in the past I had been more extroverted, but lately, more and more, I'm starting to grow to like, oh man, I'm just so tired. And like every time, there's just less and less times that I'm like, oh yeah, let me just go hang out with people forever. Like you're suggesting. There's like a difference though for me. There's also like the difference of really close people versus like just, a big group of random, like not random, but like vague acquaintances and people that I have to spend extra energy to try to have conversation with. Where if it's somebody that I know really well and we're just kind of chilling, that's not really the same to me. That doesn't cost but that's where I still look at myself as an introvert, because when it comes down to it, I would still say that I'm being drained by that experience even a little bit. Even those really chill experiences, I'm still being drained a little bit, but it's like so minimal that normally I can pretty much always do that. But I mean, I do reach my limits more often than I used to, it seems like.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely agree. Like, there is so I don't want it to sound like for, at least for me, and as best as I can tell for extroverts, it's not that being with people doesn't cost us anything, right? And like you said, like talking with a total stranger versus talking with a vague acquaintance versus talking with, or hanging out with a really close friend, right? Those are three very different levels, right? And so like there are definitely times where I would not necessarily want to go talk to a crowd of strangers, right? That one is taxing enough that there are times when, like, I'm like, no, 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 I'm too tired for that, right? But vague acquaintance on up the spectrum, that's where I would say, like, there is almost no time when I'm like, no, I don't want to hang out with you. I'm just too tired. Like, no, like that is always going to be. I think my favorite my favorite activity will always be a good conversation.
Okay, I could understand. I don't know, and I really love people too, and I really love to hang out with people, and but it just feels so like so much energy sometimes. Sometimes I feel like it would be sometimes the wrong choice even to go and hang out with people because it's so much of a tax on me that like I need to rest so that I can accomplish some other things later. Like it would be the irresponsible decision.
Okay.
And like for you, if it doesn't cost that much, sometimes I think it could defer still because like it might not really be irresponsible if you're going to be like fine energy wise the next day to get whatever things you need to get done. In my opinion. But for me, there's certain times where I feel like I have to hang out less than other people because otherwise it would just kind of be irresponsible. I would be way too tired. It would be so much of a tax on me. Um, Even though I want to, like I would want to. Um, I love people too. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird how that affects me. That I don't, like I really want to be around them, but at the same time, it just costs me energy wise. It just costs me something.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
I think you're hitting on something really good. That I mean, I often fall in the trap of this. I think like one of the biggest misconceptions about the whole like introvert versus extrovert thing is there's this like thought that extroverts love people and introverts don't, and that like I know that that's totally wrong, right? Like that's not what it's about at all. It's not that introverts like people less or love less or anything like that, right? I think you're hitting on something really good there. That maybe it is just about they want to make responsible choices and know that there are limits, and so it's not that introverts love people any less. It's just that they know that just like the extroverts do, they're supposed to make responsible choices, and if this is going to cost them, right? Even though they love people just as much as an extrovert does, right? They have to be responsible and be like, you know what, I do have work tomorrow, and I have to be ready for that, right? Or I have school that I have to be able to be there and be active and be outgoing in my class so that I can learn things, and so I need to not go to this party tonight because I have to be able to be outgoing there, right? And it's not that I don't want to go to this party or I don't love these people. It's just that I have to make the right choice.
yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Even though at some subconscious level, I think I've understood that. I haven't really thought about it in that way until just now, honestly, which is kind of interesting. That yeah, there is a misconception that we're like extroverts just love people more, but that's not really the case. Um, Sometimes though, I do think introverts choose to invest more in very close people first, where there's like this thing where like you value acquaintances more than I do, in my opinion.
That's true.
Um, where you would like see a heavy value to put into developing an acquaintance relationship, I would not see value in that as much, and I would rather spend some time with you or you know somebody really close to me.
Yeah.
Um, because I'd rather develop those deeper relationships more and more than get like a bunch of acquaintances. Um, I don't know. It's also like I'm always like open to meeting new people at the same time. In some sense, like there's always that opportunity to get another deep friend.
Are you saying I'm not enough for you? Is that what you're saying, Jared? Are you saying you're
No, I'm
looking for
saying.
a new friend? Just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Are you feeling insecure, Josh? Are you having some
I
issues
mean,
lately?
goodness. I mean, I know I friend around, but I wasn't expecting you to do it.
Did your dad leave you? I'm just kidding.
What? He better not. I need
Yeah.
him. He pays a lot of the bills. Oh, I mean, I.
Oh, that's it. That's all right. Okay, I see how this is. I'll make sure that he listens to this.
Yeah, he financially supports my extroverted lifestyle.
uh,
I couldn't be this much of an extrovert without him.
so clearly you're an extrovert. Clearly I'm an introvert. Do you think though? I want to bring this back up. I had
Mhm.
briefly mentioned it a second ago, but do you think that people can change between introvert and extrovert heavily, like in a sense of like really where you'd be almost at your point to being at a really introverted point? Do you think that's even like a possible thing?
So, yes and no. So, I'm a firm believer that at some level, anything is possible because I've seen God do so many things and so many different things over the years that I'm a firm believer that pretty much anything is possible, right? That like people can change drastically in ways we can't even imagine. Because I've been surprised so many times before with how much someone can change over the course of even a few years. Um, and so, like, I would say yes, it's possible, but I would say it's pretty unlikely for you to see a drastic change. I think that especially once someone is pretty far to one side or the other. I think obviously there's minor shifting that'll happen, but and then especially the people who are more so in the middle, like I would say you were before, and I would even say you still are now. You just shifted a little further towards the introvert side of things, but I'd say you're still kind of towards the middle. Um, and so like in that like zone of if we're gonna make this like a spectrum of like 100% extrovert versus 100% introvert, and then there's the people that are like 50-50 and stuff like that. I would say that anywhere around if you've made it to like 80% one or the other, you're not gonna drop much, right? Like you are pretty settled into being an introvert or being an extrovert. But if you're still anywhere below, anywhere around like if you're 60% one or the other, 70% one or the other, you can see a lot of fluctuation there.
Like I do think just based off of my personal situation, I guess that there can be some shift. I don't know how much exactly, but I kind of get what you're getting at. Where if you're like really just heavily like an extrovert or an introvert
Hmm.
in some natural sense, I guess that there isn't a lot of shifting. Um, but that if you are just kind of somewhere in between, that you can just shift kind of back and forth, depending on, I guess, worldviews and what you value and stuff like that could really change some of those decisions, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but sometimes it also I don't know how, because I didn't intend to make a change to be more introverted or something. Kind of what happened for me, I guess, the best way to explain it, I think, is I think I saw that I didn't have a lot of close friends, and so to like change that, I, without really thinking about it, made a shift to be really extroverted and just try to meet a lot of people, try to develop a bunch of relationships and see which ones stick, and develop some deep friendships. Um, and I think that's what I did, like for a time. But then I started to realize, look around, like, oh wow, I have a lot of deep relationships now. So many, in fact, that it's really difficult to maintain them. And dialed back on like, oh, I don't need to be searching for deep relationships anymore. I need to focus on the ones that I have And I mean, I'm not totally opposed to having more, and I think every deep relationship is incredibly valuable individually. Um, so, I'd always be open to more, but uh, I think that's a lot of the reason why I shifted back and forth there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I definitely see that. I can see that happening like at a subconscious level. Or like I feel like our subconscious is still really smart. I don't know, like somehow in my head, like the like subconscious part of myself is like the dumb part that only knows how to like, keep the heart pumping and keep the lungs moving. Like that and that's all it's good
Just stay
for.
alive. It
Or
should
like
be
yeah,
alive.
like all it runs all of those like bodily functions and that's all it's good
Yeah.
at. Right, but I've learned more like our subconscious selves is like that dude's like he's pretty smart and he does a lot more than we think he does and has more of an effect than we think he does, but we also have an effect on him, right, or her. It gets weird if you try to assign it a gender. We have an effect on it. We'll call it. It's not a person,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's
If we're the person and our subconscious selves is a thing, then that thing is not a person. So we're gonna call it, right? So we have a lot of power over it, but it also has some power over or some effect on us, right? Like you saw, like I would say that I think your change probably was self-conscious, but it probably was calculated, just like you just explained. Like that makes perfect sense to me. I can totally see your subconscious portion of yourself doing that, right? And now even talking about it, like I feel like even in you talking about it, you are solidifying the fact that like I'd say you have all your close friends now, and so I will probably see you continue to be introverted like you are now because you're good. You don't need it anymore. If a new one comes along, awesome, fantastic. Always stay open to that. But otherwise, you're good. You're happy, right? You have your friends.
Yeah. I don't know. And it's not like I don't want to have any acquaintances ever. I see like a small value in that. Like it's not like it has no value. So
yeah.
There's still like some place for that, but it's just like I will not devote as much as myself to that as I might have in the past, I guess. Okay. So let's talk about something.
Wait, why is something all one word? Like, I don't know. That word just feels weird.
Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about video games.
Oh, you meant you wanted a new topic. You didn't want to talk about... Oh, now I get it.
Yeah. No.
Video games.
Let's talk about video games, yeah.
I like the concept of video games. However...
You're such an extra person right now.
No. Wait, I was trying to actually really talk about the topic. No. But for real though, I like the concept of video games. Like I like looking them up. I like watching the occasional like playthrough and whatnot. But I have never been much for actually playing them. I don't really know why. Like I don't really play video games.
The internet community disowns you, Josh. Just sign off forever.
First,
just destroy your phone and your laptop and just run away and live in the woods.
You know what, Jared? There's a new generation of people taking over the internet right now who are in the same boat that I am, okay? The video gamers are not the only ones here anymore, okay? You guys don't own the internet. You are not the sole proprietors of the internet anymore. A new generation is coming. However, you guys are the only ones who know how to code, so... Maybe you guys are still in charge.
Josh, have you even watched Ready Player One? We are literally the people who are going to own the future. Yeah, so.
I watched it.
Rethink that. I'm just kidding.
I don't know, though. The richest people were still the ones who were the social gamers and not the hardcore gamers. I'm just saying, even in Ready Player One,
and who won out in the end?
The
Josh?
filthy casuals still ruled the world.
No.
Call me a filthy casual all you want, but they were still the ones ruling the world, right? Like, yeah, one hardcore gamer nerd took over one VR platform. Congratulations, we'll make another one. We still have all the money.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have to do the topic like this, Josh.
We didn't have to.
We could
We
do
could
it normally also.
That's true. We could. But I feel like we do enough normal topic transitions, and it was more fun to just, like, jump into this one.
Sure. But now I think I want to ask you, though,
Sure.
an actual question about this.
Okay.
What kind of games do you actually play? Or would you ever play? Like, you probably play mobile phone games, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I do, well, not for the last few months, but that's just because I've been really busy with work and school and stuff, so I haven't had as much free time as I usually do, especially in chunks big enough to do some gaming. 'Cause I'm not really, like, I know the whole idea of phone games is that you can, like, play for 5 minutes and then put it down. I never really got in on that. Like, I don't really play on a console. Like, I don't even own a game console anymore, unless you count my Wii. Not a Wii U, an original Wii, but we never use it anyway. So, uh, so I don't own a real game console, or at least I don't use it, and then I don't really game very much on my computer. And so, like, my phone is my video game console, or my video gaming device, and I have some games on there, but I don't know. I just never really got into the whole, like, play for 5 minutes and then put it down. I couldn't do that. If I pick it up and I start gaming, like, I'm going to be there for an hour, at least. And so I haven't had that kind of free time, and so I haven't really been gaming very much in the last few months. But what I did kind of start getting into was actually some, like, text adventure games, which I know is really retro. But, like,
yeah, but that's interesting.
That's like the origins of video games there. But, like, the whole, like, read this paragraph of text, something has happened now, click, from these two options, what are you going to do next? So it's like the incredibly devolved version of Mass Effect.
Right. Without all the flashy graphics and the shooting other people and stuff.
Exactly. Without all the fun, it's Mass Effect. Yeah.
We didn't have to put it like that, Josh.
Look. I'm just saying. I freely admit that I play weird, seemingly dumb games, but for whatever reason,
text
they're
adventure
entertaining
games are interesting because they're like
they
bring a fundamental. They have, like, storytelling, but, like, you kind of get to be a part of how the story actually goes down.
Yeah.
Which is, like, in my opinion, one of the best things that video games have ever done. Like, yeah, the FPS is great, and, all that, the visual elements and everything are all fun. But when it comes down to it, I think the roots of what I like of, like, some really good video games is RPG elements, where I get to decide what story is happening. So, that's completely captured in a text adventure game, and some of those old ones did a really good job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't completely discount them, but anyway.
Yeah, so that and Minecraft are pretty much all I've been playing on my phone for the last year or so.
Minecraft, everybody has played that at some point or another. I mean, Let's just be honest.
Best thing ever. It's weird. I'm an extrovert in real life. I'm just now, like, having an epiphany.
Revelation?
Yeah, I'm having a revelation or an epiphany. Like, I'm realizing, like, I'm an extrovert in real life. However, in Minecraft, I am a total introvert. I don't really go exploring. I build a house, and I go fishing. And then I work on my house some more, and then I go fishing some more, and then I go build a little addition on my wooden house, and then I go fishing some more. And, like, that's it. I live in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to meet people. I might try and find a village, but even if I do, I just take whatever I get from it back to my house. Right? Like, I'm a total introvert in Minecraft.
See, this creates a hilarious image for me that I just have to repaint, because you're just this hermit out there in the woods, and you just have your little wood cottage. And you're out there fishing, building your house up, fishing, building your house up, and then randomly one day you stroll into a village and you just pillage everything and kill everyone and take all the things and go back to your little wood cottage, chill, and fish some more. And that's what I imagine when you, even though you don't actually have to kill everyone to steal all their things, but it's funny. That's just the image I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're just the hermit who randomly goes on a rampage in Minecraft. That's interesting.
I really want to say that I've never done that.
But you've literally done exactly this.
I have done exactly
That's great.
that. Only once.
That's so great.
But yes, I did do exactly that. I was a hermit. I found a village. I was feeling angry that day. And so I murdered everyone, took everything, and went back to my house.
Oh my. Well, another thing. You've also played League of Legends.
Yes, I did for a time play League of Legends. That was a lot of fun.
So, yeah, what do you think of, why did you stop playing? Is it just a sheer time thing, or are you just kind of
So, what it really came down to was my computer got very slow, very old. I think I had caught some kind of virus or something. I'm not totally sure. But, so, it could still technically run League of Legends, but it was really slow. I had some lag issues. And it took forever to load, and so it just made the whole experience not very nice. And so, for me, I enjoyed it, but only just barely more than just binge watching something on Netflix. And so, by making the experience less fluid, right, by my computer slowing down, that lowered the enjoyment level to just a hair below binge watching something on Netflix. So I went back to just binge watching Netflix. And and then I just didn't bother to get my computer fixed because that was kind of the only thing I used it for a really long time. So that's why I haven't been online in forever, is because I just didn't care enough.
Huh?
But
that makes sense.
I recently did get my computer fixed. I had a good friend of mine. He was able to help me out. He just completely, from scratch, wiped the entire hard drive to make sure that whatever I had done to it was no longer going to have an effect. And so he was able to upgrade it to Windows 10. I was on Windows 8 before. So I'm really happy. It seems to be working great. I mean, it was never a very quick computer. It's a $300 Dell, so it was never a fast computer by any means, but it does work. I haven't downloaded League yet, but I did, however, download something else. I had to, and that is Age of Empires 2, The Conquerors. Just gotta make sure you do the right one. But I had to start there. So I did download that off of our Steam and started playing that in HD, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. It's just like I remembered. I was so happy. All of the nostalgia came back. I even remembered some of the cheat codes. And it was
wow.
great.
Wow.
What?
I don't know. That's just funny. I had some of those Age of Empires days in my past, and I just couldn't imagine cheating.
No, you don't use cheat codes if you're playing with other people. But if you're playing the campaign, if you're replaying the campaign for the,
fine.
Who knows how manyth time, right? Because I've owned this game for years. This was my childhood. This was pretty much the only thing I was allowed to play for a very long time. So, I played that campaign plenty of times. I feel like I have earned the right to use cheat codes to blitz through it real quick to get to the one level that I wanted to play again.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I feel like I've earned that right. So, but yeah, I did use cheat codes, and I did totally remember which ones, except for except for one of them, and that was, of course, the one that I needed. So I had to go back and Google that one. But anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, that's true.
Interesting.
So yeah, put in the comments below your thoughts on whether or not it's okay to use cheat codes in video games. That should be fun in the YouTube
In
comment
general,
section.
wow.
Yeah, that's going to make for a great YouTube comment debate. I think this is going to be awesome. And, if you feel like your YouTube comments not being read, feel free to email Jared directly at Jared, at the goodpodcast7@gmail.com.
Wow. All right. I see how it is. Your email would be going out next, buddy. So, but I want to go back to things like League of Legends. Kind of really interest me, I guess, because of the style of game. It's things like that and Overwatch and, those kinds of games where you have characters to learn and like a really simple objective that you like is consistent, but the real point of the game is learning a character and making that character work well with a group of other characters, and just kind of blending different abilities together and making all these different strategies off of a hero pool of sorts. That just really intrigues me. The strategy of that and the real time, just like reaction and making split decisions that are like can have huge impacts and really be change the course of the game. It's really like sports like in a sense.
That's true.
Like, which is something I really like. I mean, and as esports are starting to kind of happen, people are starting to see that parallel, and some people are enjoying esports in the same way that they could enjoy football or soccer or something like that.
Oh yeah, you are definitely a great example of that. I will never forget all the times when so Jared has been following some esports recently, and oh man, it has been hilarious to watch. I never knew how, I guess, universal some of the traits of like fandom can be until like seeing, because I know like there's certain tropes about like sports fans, but that totally carries over to esports, right? The whole like always watching the scores and like doesn't want to be outside of Wi-Fi range because then they won't be able to watch the live stream, but they're still totally there hanging out with you, definitely a part of the conversation, even though they're also like staring very intently at their screen to watch the live stream. Yeah, that's esports too. I'm just saying, like, yep, yeah, that has been very hilarious to watch.
We just it's fine. We still pay attention. We're just like,
oh yeah,
we're like only a quarter paying attention to it. We're just kind of watching, like generally seeing what's happening, but we're like mostly paying attention to you. It's fine.
Yeah, Jared,
Don't worry.
The people know your lies. They have seen other people. They have seen their dads or their husbands or their boyfriends lie to them and say, oh yeah, I'm only kind of watching this football game or this soccer game or whatever game is on the TV. Like, I promise I'm totally listening to you. They are not listening. They are not a part of this conversation. They are watching the game, and nothing is happening in their brain but the game.
You're making some assumptions. I don't know.
Have you ever had a boyfriend or a husband? I'm just kidding. But granted,
never,
neither
actually.
have I. Never,
and I never will.
That's true. Same here. But
yeah, I think the thing is, though, when it comes down to it, you know me, and you know that I've never been really interested in like watching soccer or football, or something like that. It's never piqued my interest. And I think the reason that the esports stuff has started to, like stuff like Overwatch, specifically, that's the one I am watching, has piqued my interest is because I think it's a little more interesting. The fact that the characters have certain abilities, and the thing about sports is it's just like this guy runs around the field and kicks the ball with accuracy, and that's his whole job. Like, does he pass it to that guy? Does he shoot it? Does he, those are quick second decisions that are interesting, but he can only do so many things. Whereas for me, anyway, like I'm not saying like esports is inherently better, but I'm just saying for me personally, the reason why I think I like it better is because every character has different abilities. When normal sports, it's like, yes, they all have different ability levels, but they're all trying to do the same exact kind of things. So if this guy can run the fastest and kick the ball the most accurate and hardest, then he's just the best player. And it's always going to be that way unless the other guy trains harder on his off time and gets faster and kicks harder and more accurate than he does. Like, that's just how it is. Whereas this is like different abilities, and I can switch characters and change depending on the situation, all these variables. So I guess there's just more, I don't know, there's just something more to it that interests me that I haven't really been interested by conventional sports in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's important to keep in mind, like, yeah, like, it's just about your personal opinion, right? It's like, I think you make an excellent case that, like, sports and esports really do belong in similar categories. They are about similar things. It is about making split-second decisions that will have huge impacts on the rest of the game. It really is about an entire team of people looking at their different strengths and weaknesses and abilities, and seeing how to blend all of that together correctly, and seeing how to make a plan and then change the plan once you see what the enemy's plan is, right? And all that kind of stuff is totally universal to both esports and, air quotes, regular sports, right? I mean, that's prevalent in both of those things, and so that's what we're attracted to, is those kinds of things of like, where's the risk, where's the reward, and where's the strategy and the teamwork. Like, those are the kinds of things we look for, and you are able to find enjoyment out of that easier in esports, whereas other people might find enjoyment out of it easier in football or soccer or baseball or hockey or whatever else, right? And so, like, but you're still sports fans, right? And you have that unified thing of like, this is the kind of stuff we care about, is watching a team of people work together to achieve a goal, right? And that's awesome, and that's totally admirable. And now I feel like a bad person for not liking esports or regular sports.
No, it's okay. Something though, I think let's finish this up. We can we want these to be a little shorter now.
We do.
We wanted to mention that these episodes are going to be shorter now.
Although,
just because it's a lot of content to produce, to do
true.
like a 2-hour episode. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
That's what we did last week, just so you know.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's what it ended up being. So.
Okay, yeah. See, now the people really know that I did not listen to it. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for throwing me under the bus there.
I just want to drive over you backwards, forwards, backwards, which you can really good. Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, we're like way past that. So, yeah, we can wrap it up here. But I do think I want to hit back up on RPGs sometime, because I don't think we give that nearly enough attention.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Anyway, we kind of went the esports route there, like MOBAs and things like that. But
that's true, and I think we could also talk about. I mean, I'd be interested into your thoughts of where esports is gonna go, right? Like, will esports spread into? Is there a way to turn like RPGs or even some casual gaming into a real esport? Like, is that possible, and will we try and do that? I think MOBAs are like the clear start to esports, but I feel like there's a future there, and I think I think as the MOBA esports like circuits and whatnot, become more and more prevalent, we're going to see some branching out, and where do we think that's going to go? And I think that'd be a good thing to talk about, like Can you turn Farmville into an esport? Sounds like a good one. It's a good topic.
That's interesting.
Tune in next week to hear. Right.
Uh,
Also, man, Farmville, that's a blast from the past.
oh my gosh.
I don't
I don't know why I kept getting sucked into those little games. They're all the same, and they're so pointless.
See, people, you're not alone. Me and Jared got sucked into the Farmville train too. It happens to the best of us.
But there's like so many of those games that do the same exact things. And my thing was I would jump into one of those, play it for like a good week or two, and then like quit for like a week or two, and then get to the next one. And just like do the same exact kinds of things with a different skin. Because the whole point of the game was to do a bunch of things at the beginning and then progressively have to wait more and more and more. So by the time you get to like 2 or 3 weeks into this game, you're like, oh, I'm waiting so long. I'm so tired of waiting for things. And you just stop playing.
Yep.
But then you just like pick up another one a week or two later and then do the same cycle all over again.
Yeah.
And it's like eventually I was like, man, this is just so mundane. Why am I? But they figured out some way to addict us.
They did.
They make it look nice and shiny and pretty and fun. And then you just click it and do it. And then figure out you wasted 3 weeks.
Yeah. Humans do like clicking shiny buttons. That is.
It has satisfaction behind it. It's just.
Yep.
It feels good.
Yeah, I mean. But. Speaking of clicking buttons and satisfaction. Have fun editing this one, Jared.